Hey everyone, this is Brian Ferguson. I know if you're watching this that you're enjoying the Bumps and Thumps podcast. In order to continue the podcast and get the guests on that everyone wants to hear about, we need support from listeners like you. There are a few ways you can do this. One is going to anchor.fm, which will be on the bottom of your screen here, and click the support button. There you can make a monthly contribution to support the podcast. There's also, we have a Teespring store. We have a link down at the bottom of the screen as well for that. And we have products such as t-shirts like this one I'm wearing, backpacks, glassware, and other great items for you to purchase. Those purchases go directly back into the podcast and get on guests that require financial compensation. Thank you again for your support. Go to those websites and support our podcast, and we will continue to bring the guests that you want to hear about, past and present. And thank you for your support and enjoy the podcast. Thank you for joining another edition of Bumps and Thumps, the talk of wrestling. I'm Brian Ferguson. My guest today was in pro wrestling for many years. He won numerous tag team titles with legends like Buddy Rose and Roddy Piper. He has also won numerous singles titles such as the NWA Central States title, NWA Pacific Northwest Heavyweight title, and the U.S. Heavyweight title, just to name a few. He is best known for competing in the Pacific Northwest, UWF, and AWA. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome Colonel DeBeers. Colonel, thank you for coming on Bumps and Thumps.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor and a pleasure to have you on here today. I'm kind of starstruck, to be honest with you. So I want to talk about first, if we can, growing up. I understand you're from St. Joe, Missouri. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. Yeah, born and raised in St. Joe.
Okay. Can we talk a little bit about your childhood, growing up there, and some of your schooling?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just a normal kid going to Blair Elementary School. My parents were, I'm going to say, middle class. Mm-hmm. We weren't rich. We weren't poor. We were just had plenty to eat, but didn't always get everything we wanted. I was always involved in sports of some kind.
Okay. What was your what'd you like the most in sports when you were in school?
Probably football.
Yeah.
Although I played basketball until my high school coach told me you need to concentrate on football.
Okay.
So in other words, you're cut from basketball. The basketball team.
All right.
That was a nice way of him to say that.
Yeah. Okay. After you graduated high school, did you go to college or anything, or?
I did. I went to Washburn University my freshman year, mm-hmm. and then I transferred to Northwest Missouri State University.
Okay.
In Maryville.
Okay.
So that's where I graduated from, and
okay.
I lettered there 3 years in football and 1 year in track.
Track. What'd you do in track?
I was a shot putter.
Okay. Yeah, you're a big guy, so I figured but you never know.
Yeah.
Okay. Getting started in pro wrestling, I understand you were trained by Harley Race and Lord Littlebrook. Is that correct?
That's very close. Yeah, and I worked out a lot with a female wrestler. Mm-hmm. And be darned if I can think of her name right now. But anyway, she was an independent. She didn't and wouldn't work for Moolah ever.
Oh yeah, I've heard some horror stories about Moolah.
Oh, there were horrible horror stories about that woman and the way she abused those poor women. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. What was your training like with working with Harley and Lord Littlebrook? I mean, how did you even get interested in that? Because you were in football,
So I'm kind of curious of how you got into wrestling.
Well, because I was playing football, I got a lot of local press,
Mm-hmm.
and this old promoter named Gus Karras
Mm-hmm.
called me, and he said, "Stop by the office. I want to talk to you about wrestling." And I said, "Well, I'm really not too interested at the time." And
Yeah.
so I graduated. I didn't have a career after that,
Mm-hmm.
even though some people, pushed that. But anyway, so I started teaching school, and I said, "Man, this is not my life."
Yeah.
And I went back to the old promoter and said, "What about this stuff?"
Yeah.
And so he introduced me to a few of the wrestlers, and I worked out with a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Little Brook probably did me more good than anybody. I mean, because number one, he had a midget ring set up in his garage,
Oh, okay.
and that's where he trained his midgets. And so that was, and Friday, in the local hometown, Say Joe,
Mm-hmm.
that was when the matches were, and I used to go down there early and find out if anybody would work out with me before, the matches, and that's where I got a lot of training from Harley.
Yeah.
But again, like I say, I learned actually more from from Little Brook and the midgets, all of them.
Yeah.
But also I worked out with the women a lot because Kay Noble was her name. She was always training new girls
Mm-hmm.
because she wouldn't work for Moolah, and she worked. She still, she got a lot of work
Yeah.
even without that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
that's just part of the thing.
Yeah. Oh, so after you got trained in St. Joe, did you go right to the Pacific Northwest? Because I read a
Oh
lot
no,
about
no,
you in the Pacific Northwest.
no. I went to Florida. Florida was my
Okay.
my first territory that I worked.
Okay.
And you back then you did all the learning and what it takes. You looked at the lights a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that much different now, but anyway,
Yeah.
that's where you had the journeyman for a couple of years, and then finally you get a break.
Yeah. Is that when you went to the Pacific Northwest after that?
No, actually, I got a little break in the Carolinas early.
Okay.
I don't think it was anything to do with my ability. I think it was the fact that Gus Karras had made a guy by the name of Rip Hawk
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit of money when he was working the Midwest. I was no longer a bottom man. I was a middle man. I beat up the jobbers, and then the big boys beat me up. And so that was somewhat of a break, I suppose you'd call it.
Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't looking at the lights every night. Probably 2 out of 3.
Yeah. That's great. A little bit about your travel experiences. I'm sure you rode in a car quite a bit during those days.
Oh yes.
What was when I've interviewed other people on here? They usually talk about how much they learned on the road from those more experienced guys, just talking to them and absorbing that knowledge. Was that kind of similar with you?
Oh yeah. Oh, you bet. I mean, you got long trips, 250, 300 miles, 400 miles.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have something to talk to, and I really appreciated the old guys. And one of the and I can't remember the guy's name. Again, I'm lost. I think his name was Man Mountain Mike.
Okay.
Now, Man Mountain Mike was a tremendously big fat guy, and nobody wanted him in their car because he was so big and shit, he'd ruin your seats. So down in Florida, to make sure that no baby faces or heels rode together, the office assigned your ride for you.
Okay.
So if you were going to Miami from Tampa, they assigned you somebody to ride with, and that is who you'd better ride with.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, there was hell to pay.
Yeah.
They better not catch you riding, the baby faces or the heels riding together.
Yeah.
But anyway, he Man Mountain Mike, he said to me, he said, "Kid, how much you making now?" And I said, "Oh, 300, 350, good week 500.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Well, what does it cost you to live?" And I said, "I pay all my expenses for probably 150.
Mm-hmm.
The road, the motels that you might incur. I think that was about the average."
Yeah.
But anyway, he said, he said, "One day you're going to be making a lot more money." He said, "But you need to start saving now."
Yeah.
And he was about ready to get out of the business. I think he was in Florida looking for, I think he had a 9 or 10 unit apartment building he was looking at buying.
Oh, wow.
But after that, I never saw the guy again. But I thanked him many times in absentia for his advice.
Yeah. That was good advice.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about some chemistry with other wrestlers that you either wrestled against or with. Was there anybody in particular you just had that you just knew the chemistry was there? You just had great matches with that person?
Oh, that was just a lot of guys. I mean, you single one down.
Yeah.
If you talk about tag matches, I think a match with the Rockers
Yeah.
in Denver stands out. I mean, it was, when the guy selling and finally gives his partner the hot hand, and the place pops, and then it immediately after the pop it just dies. But at that particular evening, just the comeback lasted a good 4 or 5 minutes, which was phenomenal. I mean, those young guys had a lot of get up and go, a lot of action, a lot of charisma, and so that was one match I'll remember in particular.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of matches with a lot of guys that I gelled with. Because I don't think I had an ego. So it didn't matter to me if I was going over.
Yeah.
My opponent got 90% of the match.
Yeah.
And that seems to be something that's missing today, guys.
Yeah.
They don't realize that there's good and there's evil.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to put it bluntly, where would God be without the devil? You need an opponent. And for, you to get sympathy, that opponent's got to do some damage to you.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And to me, the art of wrestling has disappeared.
Yeah.
I mean, you see guys on the opening matches that they try to burn the main event. Back then, you didn't burn the main event. If you burnt the main event, that you'd be having a talking to.
Yeah.
If you ever use somebody else's finish, particularly if they were a big star, you might just consider getting out your map and start looking for a new place to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree because nowadays, if you watch a show, the first 20 minutes, they're just talking.
Yeah. And I was watching, which I very rarely do. I caught that new organization that's given McMahon supposedly a run. I don't know if he is or not, but because I don't follow it that close. But I seen a lot of good stuff, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, there was a high spot that didn't mean diddly squat. You could see the whole thing set up. It was just not good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. I watched SmackDown the other night, probably the first time in almost probably a year, and it first 20 minutes was all talking, and then 5 minute match, and then some more talking. I miss the old days like you, Colonel, where they have the match, you do your little 2 minute interview, and then you go back to the matches. It's not 20 minutes; it's 2 minutes tops. You go back to the action. So
I don't know that fans would sit still anymore for an hour of Broadway. I mean, my God, I think the last one, and I did more than my share of hour Broadways. It's and to do that, you've got to tell a story, a complete story.
Yep.
It can't be a Ric Flair match where you have 3 20-minute Broadways.
Yeah.
It's got to have continuity.
Yeah.
For the whole match, and I don't think I've seen that since Dory Funk, Harley Race, Terry Funk, those kind of guys. I mean, I'm not knocking Flair. I mean, it's just his style was to have 3 20-minute Broadways. So in other words, he'd establish a body part. The other guy would establish a body part. 20 minutes, come back, blow off, and then start again on a new hold.
Yeah.
Established for both people, but that's just my critique.
Yeah.
A lot of people might enjoy that, but I just don't know if fans would sit still for an hour Broadway anymore. Maybe they would. I don't know.
I think people's attention span is a lot less now because of how just the way society is. I mean, they want everything.
Yeah.
Now, and
now do it in an hour and get out.
Yep.
Let's go to a movie next.
Exactly. Understand.
Anyway, I was gonna have. Never mind. I've lost my train of thought.
No problem. I'm going to move on to the next subject. So you've had quite a few feuds. I mean, over the years, I actually went back a ways. You had feuds with Snooka, Wahoo McDaniel, Sergeant Slaughter, and Derek Dukes are the ones that stood out to me.
Yeah. Well, you were only, like I said, you were from Wisconsin. You said.
Yep.
So
yep.
You'd have only seen AWA stuff, but
right.
The feud with Wahoo was short-lived, and my God, I thank God for that. He'd have killed me before we ever got started. And I don't mean physically; I mean business-wise.
Yeah.
I had one time. I was when I was working in Kansas City. I was the regional champion, Central States or whatever it was. So and I've got good heat just by wrestling. I was a wrestling heel. So anyway, they get a chance to bring Dick the Bruiser in because they've signed him for St. Louis for I think 2 or 3 shows. And when I say signed, there was no signatures. It was just you agree to show up and this and that. So anyway, they said, well, we got to have somebody for Dick the Bruiser to wrestle when he comes. Well, Easy Ed, that was what they called me. That was not my choice of names, but I didn't have one, so they just gave me one. But anyway, so I'm talking to the Bruiser before we go on, in a good house, and Pat O'Connor was there. He was the would-be booker.
Yeah.
And so Bruiser starts, well, I haven't been there in a while. I probably better take the first fall pretty quick. I said, okay. He said, how are you going to take the second fall? And I said, well, you grab, make a little comeback, grab a headlock. I'll side suplex you, come off the top rope. How are you going to soften me up, kid? Well, I'm going to side suplex you, come off the top rope. You got to have a gimmick. I said, I've never used a gimmick, and I really don't want to.
Yeah.
Well, you got to have a gimmick, kid. So I thought, so O'Connor nods at me like, get a gimmick. Let's satisfy the guy. So I wrap a popsicle stick up in tape and put it in my tights. So anyway, he takes the first fall, so on and so forth. The story's going. So going in the second fall, he said, get the gimmick, kid. So I reached down in my tights and I get it, and I hit him with a gimmick, and I thought he'd do the crappie, be laying on the deck. I look around and he's just holding his throat. Get the gimmick, kid. So I had to hit him 3 or 4 times with the gimmick. And finally he went down. I was able to beat him, but it killed me in Kansas City. And I was telling Jack Briscoe, I said, the Bruiser killed me stone cold dead in Kansas City. And he said, hell, he said he did the same thing to me in St. Louis.
Oh no.
Yeah, well, he just didn't sell. That might have got along in the AWA. I can't imagine with Gagne, but I guess he drew money for him, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, yeah. He used to be a big. I kind of remember him in the 70s. I mean, I was a little kid, but he. That's interesting. You say that. You're not the first person that said that, so I kind of.
Yeah, no. I mean, if you're a wrestling type, it don't do you any good. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah. Okay. The feuds we were talking about, what was probably your best feud? I mean, like I said, when I saw you as Colonel DeBeers in the AWA, you had Snooka, Slaughter, Dukes. I mean, I know you drew a lot of heat with Derek Dukes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was, working with Dukes was a lot of fun. Do you remember what happened to him after his wrestling career?
No, I don't. No.
Oh, it was. Apparently, he went into boxing.
Ah.
So he's doing his first match, and the guy hits him, and he takes a big wrestling bump.
Oh.
And needless to say, the boxing commission came down on him, and he lost.
Oh no!
Well, because it was fixed, but he somebody didn't tell him, don't take an exaggerated wrestling bump.
Well, live and learn, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Somebody was interviewing me, and I can't remember who the guy was, and I let him along like I was this big racist, that really I hated blacks or anybody off color, and so I had him going for about 20 minutes. And finally he was ranting and raving about, that's pretty, yeah. I said, yeah, but I made him money.
Yeah. Yeah, you did.
So,
yeah, you did.
Yeah.
It's funny because nowadays, oh my gosh, Colonel, you'd be tarred and feathered and labeled, and with all the social media platforms now, I would, it would, you got a lot of heat then, you get really a lot of heat now.
I don't, I don't really think that the average fan understood the gimmick, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'd hit the ring and they'd be chanting USA, USA, USA.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
For Christ's sake, I'm a South African mercenary. We're both South Africa and, the U.S. We're fighting communism.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
neither here nor there, but
Yeah.
they really didn't get it.
Yeah.
Mine wasn't the only gimmick. There, I don't know if you ever remember, oh my God, the names just don't come to me anymore. Oh well, another story. Forget it. It's lost.
Okay, no problem. Let's talk about some of your different characters that you had as a wrestler. You had you were the Polish Prince. That was a little bit when you were, I think, getting started, right?
Yeah, I mean it was. I don't remember where I did it at, but
yeah. Then you had the Convict.
Yeah, that was just because I was I was in Europe a lot, and I would do 9 or 10 months in Europe, and then I'd go back, to the Northwest, and that was during one of those 2-month stints, and that was basically to get Kurt Hennig over.
Oh, okay.
It was a real short. I don't even know. I think maybe I did 4 or 5 shows as the Convict, but it was just the whole purpose was to get Kurt Hennig over as his babyface.
Okay, interesting. All right. So out of all the people that or characters you portrayed, in my opinion, the Colonel was the best. Was that your most enjoyable character?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I did one, and I was the Mega Maharishi.
Yes, I've got that on here.
That one was a great deal of fun, and it's because do you follow Netflix or?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a documentary on there called Wild Wild West.
Okay.
And it was about the Bhagwan Shi Rajneesh, who had settled in a big ranch in eastern Oregon.
Okay.
And it was actually they committed the first act of bioterrorism in the country.
Oh, wow.
Because they were, it's an interesting thing. But anyway, I patterned my gimmick after this Bhagwan guy. Had a red robe. And of course, this guy, I forget, he had, I think, 200 and some Rolls Royces that people had bought him. And he would drive a new one every day down through the people, and the throngs would. But anyway, my gimmick was to beg for money, to send money to the Mega Maharishi Foundation. And people would throw money at me. And of course, being the cheap bastard that I was, I'd pick it up, or I'd have Sandy Barr pick it up and give it to me. But anyway, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Along with that, I learned a trick while I was wrestling in Europe, where we were there for 3 months during the summer, and during that time there was an OPEC meeting at the Hotel Interconti, which was right next door to the like an open air stadium during the summertime. But anyway, so these sheiks came over and started watching the wrestling. Well, we hooked them up with this thing just for them. So we managed to manipulate close to $4,000 out of these guys, because it was what they wanted to see. And I think my opponent, which maybe he'd be the only person I ever say anything bad about that I wrestled, and that was big Fat Otto Vance.
Yeah. So yeah.
Big, fat, lazy slob. And I don't give a shit if he's dead or not. He was a real piece of shit. He, you know, when I spent when I was in Europe, because he basically just worked his own territory and a few other ones.
Yeah.
But, so he didn't work with the same group I did, and then their star was getting too old, so they brought him in, and I was over as a big cowboy heel, and so I knew, you know, I had to put the guy over.
Yeah.
And that was fine. I did it for one whole year, making him look good.
Yeah.
So now we're in the second year, and he's thinking I'm going to fucking lay down for him again. So when I would start to heel on him, he'd back into a corner, and all he would give me was that big, broad, fat back of his to beat on, and I couldn't do any damage there. And then he'd come roaring out, you know, making a comeback. I'd just fucking bail out of the ring. Not time. Not time.
Yeah.
Time the fifth round came, he was so fucking mad, excuse my language, that he wouldn't even make a comeback when it was right. All he did was go in and complain to the office that I wasn't cooperating, and
Yeah.
so, but anyway,
Yeah.
but that was just he was never mind.
Yeah.
I don't want to start my day out negatively.
Okay, no problem. We'll move on. So you did some big card events too with the AWA that I saw. Russell Rock, the Super Clashes,
Yeah.
and of course that famous Team Challenge series.
Oh.
Yeah. So talk about those a little bit. What was those like for you? I mean, those were like some pay-per-views and some big deals for Vern.
I would call that grasping at straws.
Yeah.
They were trying anything and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you remember the match I had with the little guy from Milwaukee, Jake the Milkman Milliman.
Milliman, yes, Team Challenge.
The turkey on the pole match.
Yeah, yes.
Oh my God. So they were grasping at straws and trying anything.
Yeah, I will tell you, I thought out of those I mentioned, I thought Super Clash 3, I mean, I know there's a lot of with the different promoters and stuff, but actually I thought the matches were great. I mean, to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. That was the one that was in Chicago, right?
Yeah, that was in Chicago, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the one that they worked Vern Gagne on.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the main event was supposed to be the guy pulled his foot off and Lawler.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was, but they had already run the match.
Yeah.
They'd already run the match all over Tennessee and all over Texas. So who in the fuck's where's the buy rate?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't think I ever got, to tell you the truth, I don't think I ever got paid.
Oh no.
No, I'm serious.
I believe you, because Lawler talks about how he never got paid for that either.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that was one of the top supposed promoters doesn't pay you. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not good. So, all right. So promotions, you worked for quite a few. Now I also read that you worked in the WWF a little bit in '83 with Fred Blassie.
Yeah.
Was that under Vince Sr., I'm assuming still?
Yeah, that was the old man.
Okay.
I don't know. That didn't last very long. I don't think Blassie liked me, and it didn't really matter to me. I didn't want a manager anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
The UWF was an interesting
Yes. Let's
an
talk about that a
interesting
little bit.
time. I'm not bitter at what's his name, but
Herb Abrams?
who I am bitter at is some asshole had contacted me in regards to a book that he was going to write on the UWF, and I spent a lot of time, telling my story, and then the guy just didn't do shit with it. So and then I think Dark Side of the Ring did a thing on it, which I watched, which I don't know. It was really, I don't know. To me, what happened was that Herb Abrams was a freak for anybody that worked for the WWE. He was out he was going to be the giant killer. He was going to kill McMahon Jr. And, he hired a bunch of us people that, were no longer working.
Yeah.
But anyway, when the WWE started cutting a lot of guys, then he hired them, and they started taking over. But it was a real mess. There wasn't a real booker. There wasn't a real finish. It's like for no reason, they threw me with Orndorff. In some match, there was no build up to it or anything else.
Yeah.
They just threw it in there, and I think it was in Bradenton, Florida, I believe, his pay-per-view. And oh my God, an early match. It was it was the brother of one of the Road Warriors.
Okay.
And
John Laurinaitis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I forget what his name was back then, but him and another guy that's dead now that got all goofy. I think he overdosed, but he had some brain damage and. Gordy. Terry Gordy.
Oh, Terry Gordy. Yeah.
Yeah, they had. So because the matches, nobody had anything to say about it, they just let guys go in the ring and do everything. Well, hell, these guys fought all over the building, and the television cameras followed them.
Yeah.
So then everybody's match after that was shortened up.
Wow. Yeah.
And when I went to go in the ring with Orndorff, they said 5-6 minutes, no more. We gotta cut. And what transpired was probably the worst match I'd ever had since I was, a green guy.
Yeah.
But it was horrible.
I'm
But
sorry.
anyway.
Yeah. So on all
I still got paid.
Oh, there you go. That's what really counts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So out of the promotions that you worked for, territories, where did you like working the best?
I like working in Europe.
Okay.
Just simply because everything was 15 days to 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
So you were in the same place, the same venue, and it was great. No travel. I mean, you were able to get to the gym and work out as much. Well, in fact, I got up to 285 pounds just by eating good and, not having to long trips or anything like that.
Yeah. Wow.
But anyway, I enjoyed it. And I also enjoyed Australia, even though there was a great deal of travel there.
Yeah. But. Okay. Interesting. I also read that you were a Cauliflower Alley Club men's honoree in 2004 with Buddy Rose. Is that did you go to that? I mean, were you there?
Oh, yeah.
What was that? Was that pretty neat? Was that pretty exciting for you?
Yeah, it was work.
It was okay.
I mean, the club membership, I think, was declining, and
Yeah.
so they called me up and said, yeah, we'd like to honor you. And I said, well, thank you very much. And they said, but you got to join. So I joined, and I was
Yeah.
a member for a few years.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when I think what kind of soured me was that there was somebody that was down and out.
Mhm.
I think I won't go into it because I think they're still alive, and I don't want to embarrass them. But anyway, it was somebody, and the club wouldn't help them out. Well, they're working, and not in wrestling, but
Mhm.
I said, yeah, but that doesn't mean they don't have financial problems. But
Right.
anyway,
Yeah.
they didn't help, and I said, that's bullshit. That's what it's for, to help
Yeah.
guys that are down and out. And I just never gave them my $25.
Okay.
And I went one more time, but I didn't
Yeah.
grace them the dinner or anything like that. I just
Yeah.
was on the fringes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Gotcha. All right. So, difference now between, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, but pro wrestling when you started and now, I mean, you talked about it a little bit, but what do you think is the big difference of when you were in the ring and on TV and everything versus today when you have watched it today?
okay. The big difference is everybody is scripted.
Yeah.
They've got writers for their matches, and I really don't see how that can work out. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
So people, when I worked,
Mm-hmm.
it was, you feel the crowd. What are they buying?
Yeah.
And you learn to feel the crowd and give them. I mean, you can start down a path.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed near the end of my career that you had to be adaptable.
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody's smart. Are they buying wrestling? No. Are they buying eye spots? No. Well, then they'll buy comedy. So that was near the end, and so you did what you had to do to
Yeah.
entertain the people. I had an incident that I'd forgotten about, and Raven reminded me the last time I saw him
Mm-hmm.
was a match in Oregon, and I had to work with this green guy. I mean, he was big, muscular guy, but he was from Alaska, and he didn't know diddly shit.
Yeah.
So I did everything I could. So before I got in the ring with him, I just grabbed a book, and I think we were in a school or something, and I grabbed a book, and it didn't have much of a cover on it. And so when I went in the ring with him, I just told him to do this, and then I'd go back and I'd look up in my book how to counter it, and and I did that for a good 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Just going back and reading up, supposedly. But he thought that was amazing.
Yeah. Huh.
When I look back on it, it was by God amazing that I'd come up with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. Okay, well, one more question, then we'll get off here with you. What are you doing now, sir? What's you got any projects that you're doing, or just?
No, just sitting on my ass. This new thing came out. I don't know what it's all about. Gagne had called me and something about they're going to market old wrestlers, dead ones, and everything else.
Yes, he's talked to me about that. Yeah.
So I don't know where it's at. Since I signed the contract, I haven't heard anything. So I don't know what's.
Well, I can tell you real quick. I just talked to him a couple weeks ago, Greg, and they got the first batch coming out here soon, and then they're going to start releasing the series. So you'll probably hear something pretty soon from him about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Other than what I just read so far, that's all I know.
Okay. Well.
So I'll just be patient. I don't.
Yeah.
If something drops from heaven, then that's a good deal.
There you go. Well, Colonel DeBeers, sir, thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I know you guys. You want me to get on and knock in people and things like that.
No.
I'm not gonna do that. I've only got one evil person, and that's that fat bastard from Austria.
No, I don't do that. I try to be positive.
Well, it's not that. It's just
Yeah.
sure you got people that you may not like and everything else. It's a business, so
Right.
you do your. I mean, I have good matches with guys I didn't get along with.
Right.
Because it's just a business, and it's a live and let live business.
Yeah.
Although now it's, the person that predicted the way this was going to end up, and he did so many, many times, was Jack Briscoe.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I remember one time, and this stands out in my mind because he was a champion at the time, and I had to do an hour with him, and he was saying, "Hey, man, I've done hours. I'm going on, 3 weeks of straight hours, and is there any other way I can get a rest?" And of course, Pat O'Connor said, "I want an hour Broadway." And
yeah.
But anyway, we had an hour, and it was a good match. But anyway, he'd said, he said, this business is changing, and it's changing very quickly. And he said, before long, he said, we're going to be like Mexican lucha libre. And I thought, it'll never happen,
Yeah.
But it sure as hell did.
Yeah, he was right.
And now what's a long match now? 10 minutes?
I would say the longest probably is 10 to 15 minutes max. It's not, and that's because, like we talked about, it's just people's attention span. And they run out of moves. I mean, because it's scripted, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
They don't do that like you guys used to do in the ring, where you go with what the crowd's doing, how the crowd is. You're feeding off the crowd, and they don't do that.
No, it's because they're scripted, and this move's got to follow that move, even if it don't mean shit.
Yeah.
It's got to mean something. I mean, I can remember guys like Johnny Valentine. If they scratched their ass during a match, it meant something.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just that. Hell, I seen Valentine one time have a 10-minute match with some black guy in St. Louis setting up in the upper deck.
Yeah.
Just looking at him and biting him in the ring, and people going nuts. The guy was a show.
Yeah, right.
So those days are gone. You put one of those guys to try to entertain on their own without being scripted. I don't know. I don't know if they could do it. Maybe they could. Maybe they could.
I think it'd be a lot tougher. It's a lot.
If you want to call it quits, I can talk all day. But anyway,
no, I appreciate.
I don't want to be critical. I guess they're making money.
Yeah.
And a damn sight more than I made in my day. So more power to them.
There you go.
I don't know. I'm pretty beat up.
Yeah.
And I just can't imagine what their bodies are going to look like when they're my age, assuming they get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot different, and it's got its good points and bad points, like anything else,
Yeah.
And I just enjoy talking to gentlemen and ladies like yourselves that really paved the way for these wrestlers of today. You guys were the trailblazers. They paved the way. You did a lot of the hard work for these guys that are around today, and I appreciate it, and I want to tell you that. So,
well, I don't know. I don't even know what they're doing now to teach these guys.
Yeah.
Although I did see on that new one that Tully Blanchard, I think Tully had a lot to do with the fact that they, at least during the first 3 or 4 minutes, they had developed a story.
Right.
But then again, it was blown with a big high spot, and that would and should have been a finish. But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all right.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Colonel DeBeers, thank you for coming on today, sir. I sure do appreciate it.
Okay. No problem.
And folks, thanks for listening, and subscribe if you haven't, and we will talk to you soon.